Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you're having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it. If that's the local hospital, I definitely wouldn't want to go in. Hopefully none of them got inside.
Are victims of domestic violence. A Webster family who lost a loved one has been pushing for the change. Anchor and investigative.
Wasn't expecting that to happen. She certainly kept it professional. I give her that.
Over the last week, a whole new periodic table has dropped like a bomb on TikTok, going viral because of Terrence Howard on the Joe Rogan show. We then find out that this periodic table comes from the 1920s, and in fact, the gentleman who created that periodic table also created the Universal One book, and I just wanted to let you guys know if any of you guys are interested in reading the Universal One book, I made it very simple for you. I have put a link to the Universal One where you can go read it and listen to it. If you click on my head, go to the link tree in my account. The very first one will take you to archive.com where you can read it for free. I don't know if you need an account to do it, but if you do, it is free to sign up, and it does have an audio feature as well. Right at the bottom here, there are headphones. If you click the headphones, it'll read the whole book to you. Now, regardless who dropped it, how they dropped it, why they dropped it, that's really all besides the point. People want to say it's debunked. That's all besides the point. This spiral configuration, I was not able to see past 3 years ago. Now I see this in everything. So this is scientifically giving me the scientific information to prove what I've been seeing. Life is more than you know, and you matter. This image right here got me the most. Inhalation, exhalation, the cosmic pendulum. Your breath, when you focus on your breathing, you can't focus on your breathing and think at the same time. So if you have a problem with overthinking, if you dedicate time every day to focus on your breathing, you'll be able to stop yourself from that overthinking. But every time you breathe in and you exhale, you are charging and discharging. I've come to this realization over the last 3 years due to learning how to meditate and through stillness. See, I never knew that there was a scientific explanation for what I experienced, but if I had to put into a scientific term that which I've come to understand energetically through meditation, this describes it perfectly. So regardless or not whether things of his have been debunked, his things scientifically explain that which I've come to experience over the last 3 years. Look, all direction is curved. This whole double spiral, I saw this today. This image right here, I saw this today. An image came to me to explain to me how we're living both at the same time, intertwined together. So, like, any of you guys curious about science, any of you out there just wanting to expand your knowledge, go click on the link in my link tree, go read this book, go listen to it if you don't want to read to it. It's all right there. Now, here's the thing. Regardless or not the past debunk it, I'm asking to take a fresh set of eyes to this thing. Today, the past right now is the soil. We really want to grow up out of the soil, right? We want to break the dirt and go into the light, okay? So let's not keep doing the things from the soil. Oh, it's being debunked. It was debunked in our soil. Let's take a new, fresh look in the eyes at this. Because I guarantee 100% this will change people's lives. This will change how we look at science, how we look at everything that we do. We will put ourselves into like a total harmonization. So if any of this stuff resonates with you, you can click on my link tree in my bio, go read the book, go listen to, just go through it. Like, you guys are having an opportunity right now to delve into something from like 98 years ago that scientifically looks like what we've come to know and experience over the last 3 to 5 years. This is significant. This has shifted reality. And as soon as you listen to this thing, put it in your ears and go to sleep. Do you know that while you sleep, your consciousness is like wide open like a sponge? This is what I used to do when I shifted my consciousness. I slept with I am affirmations in my ears to retrain my consciousness. So go to sleep with this in your ears. So tomorrow when you wake up, you will be in a different state of consciousness. and life will just flow for you differently. Or you can just, deny it all and so be it, reject it, resist it, whatever. I'm just telling you, I'm giving you the opportunity with the knowledge. It's as simple as clicking on it and going listen to it. What you do from here is your choice. I love.
Shout outs to Graceful Shift for being kind enough to drop that link. Yeah. The world got introduced to Walter Russell with that Terrence Howard interview. The Universal One. Definitely got to read it and see what it's hitting on. If you're ready before, let me know in the comments down below.
Walter Russell, the greatest genius of the 20th century, was able to violate many reified concepts of man falsely termed laws by science. He was able to produce over-unity technologies capable of amplifying a small amount of electricity into extraordinary heat and power. He successfully performed low-temperature, low-energy atomic transformation, turning one element into another. And he discovered a holistic way of looking at our universe that anyone can understand. And when he wasn't busy solving the mysteries of our universe, he painted, sculpted, played and created music, trained and rode horses, drew the children of the most famous people in America, designed and built architecture, and of course hung out with Nikola Tesla and Mark Twain. I bet you'd never heard of Walter Russell before. Why don't we know about someone who was so influential? Well, it's pretty simple. Conventional science is a religion based on reductionism and scarcity. The wealthy elite of this world use it as a tool to beat down and control us. Russell taught that we cannot die and that everything in the physical world is consciousness experiencing itself through sex, and that most of the laws of physics are just bullshit dreamed up by mathematicians that can be totally violated up, down, left, right, and center and then stomped on for good measure. The wealthy controllers of this world weren't too happy with Walter Russell because their power rested upon a foundation of fear, scarcity, and limitation. So they obscured his work with that of people who never really achieved much of anything positive for humanity.
I like that one. Shout outs to Walter Russell. Yeah, he was taking that holistic approach. They wasn't trying to hear it. I'm happy his works are now being seen in this modern era.
Hey friends, so I've had a bunch of people ask me my opinion of the Terrence Howard, Joe Rogan podcast, so here we go. I thought it was great. I thought Terrence Howard did an amazing job of breaking down some of these abstract and advanced concepts in a way that people could actually start to wrap their minds around. Now, my favorite part of the whole thing is simply the fact that the great Walter Russell is finally getting his day in the spotlight. Walter Russell is one of my favorite thinkers of all time, to the point where I actually bought his book called The Universal One a few years ago for over $300. I've never paid that much for any book in my life, obviously, and it came in this weird spiritual nudge out of nowhere to buy this book I never heard of from a guy that I didn't know anything about. And to this day, is one of my favorite possessions I own. When you hold this book, when you flip through this book, it's gorgeous, and you just know it's special and magical, and that it's the truth. There's no other way to explain it. Now, in this podcast, Terrence Howard says a quote from Einstein about, one of Einstein's only regrets is that he didn't spend more time reading Walter Russell. That is a real quote, and it's amazing that I said that. But another awesome quote that he should have mentioned was that Nikola Tesla. So at the time, Walter Russell circulated this book to all the biggest minds on earth because he wanted to get their opinion on it. And Nikola Tesla, who arguably was the biggest mind on earth, said, dude, put this book in a vault for 1,000 years. Humanity is not ready for it. He told him it was the truth, but that no one could take it. And he would basically probably be burned at the stake for it, right? So, and this was just 100 years ago. So I think we're finally to that precipice. We're finally to that point where people can start to wrap their minds around this stuff and digest it and unravel it. And I think this because of the reaction from the Terrence Howard podcast, right? People are losing their shit, both sides, right? The scientists, the materialists are losing their shit because they're triggered. They're so triggered. They don't want any of this to be true, and they're going to vehemently deny it. They're going to just completely take it to the grave because that's what, it's like a religion to them. And the rest of the people, the common man, the regular peeps, they listen to that and they might have been like, hey, I don't really know what you're saying, dude, but it rings true. It's resonating with me. I feel it, something about it. Whenever I hear these things, when you listen to that podcast, you listen to the way he breaks things down and what he's saying, you can't help but just be like, dude, I think you're right. I think you're onto something, okay? There's just something inside. You have this intuition, right? You have your gut feeling where you can tell if something's bullshit or not. And I know it's not bullshit because I've spent years studying Walter Russell, and basically what Terrence Howard was just doing is just piggybacking off all of his ideas. But the really cool thing is that we're finally to this point technologically. Like, you might call this last century the lost century, because we went so hardcore into materialism that we basically clubbed spirituality to death, but I think that we're finally turning the corner there, because just last year the Nobel Prize went to some scientists that proved non-locality. Non-locality is a quantum element which basically says that nothing exists in any place at any time until it's observed, basically like the double slit, basically meaning that everything exists everywhere at once until it's observed by a conscious observer, and then it clicks into space and has to pick a place and pick a form. So this is what Walter Russell talks about. The universal one, the way he explains it, is the concept that everything that you see, everything in the entire universe, and like the material universe and the spiritual universe, is made of the same elements. It's made of consciousness. He calls it the universal one. Everything is light, electricity, and magnetism, period. And it all has to do with how it's in motion, how fast it's going, how slow it's going, the density that's going through, that kind of stuff dictates what kind of element it is. But everything at its core, instead of having all these separate elements, like on the periodic table, everything comes from one thing. And it's just sped up or slowed down and in different ways, and it creates different things, right? So you unravel one thing to make another thing, right? So anyways, what Walter Russell talks about is that every single thing in the universe, from the smallest particle ever to the biggest galaxy that we have, all constitutes the same stuff. And then not just that, the spiritual world is made up the same thing as the material world, which is why your dreams seem so real. Have you ever had a dream where you're like, I don't know if the dream seems realer than real life? People have near-death experiences and they're like, that's more real than real life. It's because it's all made of the same stuff. It's made of the universal one. It's made of consciousness. It's made of light energy. Everything is made of the same stuff. It just, in this physical world, it's like going through like this lens. It's like going through this like holographic lens that creates physical matter out of light energy. But it's all made of the same stuff. Even if it appears real in this hologram that we're in, the nature of the hologram, the origin of the hologram, is still that light energy. So that's what Walter Russell talks about. The universal one is that, and it's all conscious, and that everything is made of consciousness, so everything is conscious. That's why they say everything's connected, right? The plants are conscious because they're made of the same stuff we're made of, okay? So everything's connected, everything is light. That's what Walter Russell talks about. But he did it in this philosophical, scientific way, to where he could speak to the scientists and they knew what he was talking about, but he did it in this philosophical way where they couldn't really measure it and hold it and grab it and touch it. And we were just entering, this is 1910, 1920, we're just entering this super hardcore materialist day. Electricity was just really getting cranking, and everyone wanted things, gadgets, doodads. They wanted, material things. So his teachings was not popular. We finally got into this technological age, and people wanted cars and trains and computers and radios, and computers were radios and all this kind of stuff, right? So he was ahead of his time. But now, think about what's happening now. Now people like Terrence Howard can take Walter Russell's teachings, and because we have AI, and we have computer modeling, we have all this stuff. Back then, they used to be these abstract concepts that people just had to use their imagination and their mind to visualize. But now they're able to run these things through computers. They're able to make things. That's why Terrence Howard was showing these quadricopter kind of things that are based on the flower of life. He was able to open the flower of life and turn it into actual machinery, kind of like what our crop circles have been teaching us how to do. They've been putting this in the collective unconscious for decades now. And then he has some gun. It's like a lightning gun type thing where he's basically able to produce more energy than it takes in. It's the 0 point energy. This is what they said wasn't possible. All these things that Walter Russell was teaching us about 100 years ago, now someone like Terrence Howard, who has some connections and has some money, can actually bring these things to life. That's why this is so exciting. Not just because the words coming out of his mouth were resonating with people. At their core, they were like, dude, I get it. I like what you're saying. You're blowing my mind. I can't quite, like Joe Rogan said, I got a slippery grip on it. I don't quite understand what you're saying, but it makes more sense than the crap we were fed in school. Because a traditional materialist, classical scientist always comes up with excuses. They'll just say, oh, it's a black hole, or oh, it's dark energy, or it's dark matter. They can't account for the vast majority of energy and matter in our universe. They don't know where our universe came from or where it goes. They don't know how any of this works. All they can do is basically explain some of the mechanisms in our physical reality. But besides physical reality, especially when you get in the quantum world, they have no freaking clue. Well, Walter Russell did. And he was able to unite all of these things because it's all made from the same stuff. So instead of treating each of the things separately and independently, you just look at it the same way. And that was the beauty of Walter Russell. And I think that's the magic of what Terrence Howard did. I'm not saying Terrence Howard has it all figured out, but he finally is resurrecting Walter Russell's teachings and he's bringing them to life, because now we can take Walter Russell's 1910, 1920 teachings and pump it into this new age with AI and computer modeling and stuff and actually see and test them. See, does this stuff work? And according to Terrence, he's creating some crazy things. And they created Saturn, you know what I mean? And some of these inventions that he has patents for. Like, this is material stuff. And this is going to really challenge our entire understanding of physics and reality and science. But I think it's time for that to happen. Because if you're like me, you talk to these scientists, I mean, they can create gadgets and stuff. And that's great. I like them. The thing I'm talking to you right now, this little rectangle on my hand, it's amazing. But we're hitting our wall. They've taken us as far as they can take us, and now they need to open their minds and start uniting the different worlds, the quantum world, the spiritual world, and the material world. They need to unite that because it's all made of the same stuff. And that, I think, is the biggest takeaway from Walter Russell's teachings, and why I think the Terrence Howard Joe Rogan podcast is really causing such a firestorm, because I think everyone in their head knew that we hit this wall. Everyone in their head knew that the stuff we learned in high school physics and stuff was not quite the whole story. And now we're starting to get more of the story. So anyways, that's my take on it all. Let me know what you guys think. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
Shout outs to I'm Alive and Kicking. And I totally agree 100% with what he said. It's time to learn more. I agree, man. We hit a wall when it comes to technology. Right? There's but so many updates you can have on your phone.
Tesla, in review of Dr. Russell's Universal One, said, "You are 1,000 years ahead of your time. Man is not ready for this yet. You need to give it to the Smithsonian, have them put it in a time capsule, and have it opened in 1,000 years. Then man will be able to understand what you've given the world." That's pretty heavy.
Tesla was like, put it away. They not ready for this. What are you doing? It shows that he wanted to enlighten people. I guess even Tesla knew as to how far the boundaries back then were. Like, hey man, you need to chill.
Let's talk about these platonic solids. So you've heard a lot about the platonic solids in the last week with JRE and Terrence Howard, right? So what I want to do is show you the best part about it that they definitely didn't mention. And it is the mathematics behind the platonic solids. So all the platonic solids all have a base root of 9, which means when you break each one of these numbers down to its lowest possible form, they all break down to a 9. We'll start with the tetrahedron. This is 720 degrees. 7 plus 2 equals 9. So each one of these is also alchemically tied to our elements. So this is the fire element, the fire in the middle, the tetrahedron. Then we move over to the octahedron. This is air. This is 1,440 degrees. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9. Then we move over to the green cube. This is the hexahedron. This is the earth element. This is 2,160 degrees. 2 plus 1 plus 6 plus 0 equals 9. Then we move over to the water element, which is the icosahedron. The icosahedron is 3,600 degrees. 3 plus 6 plus 0 plus 0 equals 9. Again, this is water. Then we move over to the ether element, the dodecahedron. This is composed of 6,480 degrees. 6 plus 4 plus 8 plus 0, 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. This is our element of ether, the ethereal energy, the spirit. This is the dodecahedron. When we add all these together, it equals 14,400 degrees. 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 0 plus 0 equals 9. So we have here the platonic solids that were made mention publicly for hours, right? But not one time did they mention this. the numerology, the sacred geometry, the ethereal alchemical connection, the syncretization between the math, the alchemy, the science, the philosophy, right? It is the spirit and the matter uniting. This is the ethereal blueprint, the basis of the Platonic solids. How could you not bring this up? How could you not bring up the structural embedding of each one of these? How each one of these can nest within the other like Russian dolls. The most important part about it is the sacred geometry. So, here you go. This is the New Jerusalem. The Jerusalem had 12 gates, just as our brain has 12 cranial nerves, just as a foot has 12 inches, just as the tribes of Israel were contained of 12, right? These are the 12 gates. 12 times 12, 144. So the basis of this is all about the sacred geometry, which is just the blueprint of the sound and the light.
The blueprint of sound and light, Platonic solids. Yeah, Platonic solids. It's a real thing. It's crazy seeing it now. It's like, whoa. It seemed so complex when I was younger. Didn't see no real meaning for it back then. The fact that Rottweiler is 165 pounds, like that's the weight of some humans, and just walking around with it like it was nothing. A lioness. That's crazy when you got lioness walking around your neighborhood.
A billionaire is attempting to see the Titanic wreckage just 1 year after OceanGate's failed submarine expedition. Real estate agent Larry Connor wants to prove the safety surrounding deep-sea diving by traveling 2.3 miles in a two-person vessel, estimated to cost $20 million. There's no word on when the Triton 4002 Abyssal Explorer will make the voyage. This news comes 1 year after 5 people were killed when OceanGate's Titan submarine imploded on its journey down to the wreckage.
So Larry O'Connor planning on taking another person with him down there. I mean, for $20 million, I'm sure they'd be able to build a vessel that'll withstand the pressure and stuff like that, and do everything that the other wreckage didn't do. Sure, probably more modernized and stuff like that. So I'm thinking his journey may be a success. What do you think? Think he should do it? Let me know in the comments down below.
There's been a lot of debate at the moment in the world of physics and metaphysics. There's been this incredible interview with Terrence Howard on the Joe Rogan show, and everyone's talking about is the fundamental unit of creation, is it a particle or a wavicle? Whereas Terrence is suggesting that the flower of life is the key to all the secrets of creation. So Terrence Howard has looked at the negative space between 4 bubbles or 4 spheres, and we get this kind of shape like a tetrahedron. And he's saying that shape there is the atomic structure of hydrogen. And as you know, hydrogen constitutes 99.9% of the universe. So this contradicts this whole theory of protons and electrons and black holes, because he's saying everything has a male part and a female part. So his work was based on the Walter Russell's cosmology of octaves and frequencies and light. So a lot of people are asking me, like, is he the next Tesla? Well, I believe that his popularity and his deep understanding of the sacred geometry and the pentagons that nest definitely constitutes him as one of the next progressive thinkers in the world, because we want to have this debate about good technology versus bad technology, pollution versus natural systems. So we have to copy we had to comprehend nature. We need to, and also copy it as well. So, so this does challenge the world of physics. And one of the fundamental diagrams that he built, one of Terence Howard's most fundamental discoveries, is he took 3 pentagons and he put them together at a 120-degree angle, and then he put another 3 next to it, and he essentially got a shape, a bit like the dodecahedron that has 12 vertices. Well, this linchpin, he's saying, is the new propulsion system that can be like a drone. So if you turn that into a drone and put 4 of these constructs together, you end up with this amazing new technology that can fly like a UFO, can rotate on its axis. It's a technology that's never been done, and it's even submersible. It's going to get rid of cranes. So he's saying that the golden ratio, the phi ratio, the work that's been suppressed for hundreds of years, is now coming into the forelight. So that's why I welcome his research, because he's saying that 24 spheres or bubbles, the negative space, is this beautiful architecture of sacred geometry. So these contain energy, and we can harness this energy in a new and progressive way. And the beautiful thing about Terence Howard was that he believed that he'd already channeled as a child independently the work of Walter Russell. And this brings up the whole research, is there straight lines or curved lines? So Terence is saying everything in the universe is curved and that there are no platonic solids, but my personal view would be that I believe that there is an etheric straight line that connects the center of spheres, so we can nest the 5 platonic solids. We're looking at the 5 Chinese elements of creation. So it all fits in, whether it's straight lines or curved lines, particles or wavicles. But I believe that he is definitely, in a positive sense, putting on the table a new propulsion system based on the flower of life and the sacred geometry. I'd like to give an acknowledgement also to the incredible 3 decades of work by Michael Evans. He was a pioneer of propulsion systems as well. This diagram from Terence Howard was actually created first by Michael Evans. So it was all by viewing the flower of life as a 3-dimensional construct, right? So my personal interest in promoting and advocating the research on Terence Howard's work is that he says in his book that you can download off his website, tcotlc.com, where it all stands for truth, love, consciousness. He's talking about the one, that there is no zero. He's saying that we've got pi wrong. So not many other teachers like myself are saying pi is gone in the wrong direction or physics is going in the wrong direction. But when he talks specifically that we can't use straight lines to measure the area under the curve, he's saying that there's an error in thinking, in logic. Well, for the last 40 years, I've spent my whole life writing 10 books about the true value of pi, which is based on the harmonics of the golden ratio. So the square root of 1.618 is this thing called 1.272, the golden root, and it's what's inside the pyramid of Egypt. So I believe that this ancient knowledge of the true value of pi, when we apply it to the new technology, we're gonna be moving through space and not creating any pollution. So there's a new technology being created when the correctional code of 3.1446055110296931144, that's pi, true pi to 18 decimals, when that comes into the scientists' hands, we're going to create new systems like time travel and amazing systems that propel us into a new era. So on that note, I just want to conclude that Terence's work is allowing us to have discussions where metaphysics connects with physics. We want to have this discussion about physics versus metaphysics, biology versus technology, and how they can work hand in hand rather than be opposing templates of consciousness.
And then talk to us about your larger vision with Educare and your students.
So,
and also add in, you think that, did you mention you think that Terence would endorse your pi?
Yeah.
So start there and end with the Educare and your bigger vision.
So So I'm hoping that if Terence is watching this, I would like to know his view upon what I call the true value of pi. I call it golden pi, just like we have golden circle, golden spiral, golden rectangle. Well, this is the subject on golden pi 3.144. And because it's all based on the what we call the golden ratio, which is all about the DNA molecule. DNA is all based on the harmonics of 1.618. If this is true, we need to set up a new education system. This is my connection with Terence. Let's set up new educational models where the next generation truly understand what education is. It comes from the Latin word educare, which means to shine forth. It's about connecting with the child's inner glow, what their passion is, and get children to start turning numbers into art, where we draw the pentacle within the pentacle. So when we do 4 iterations of the pentagram within the pentagram, we get what's called the golden, we get the angle for the fine structure constant. It's called 137 degrees. That's what scientists are obsessed about. So if you talk to any nuclear physicists, they say that the ratio between electricity and magnetism is 137 times the difference between the forces, the nuclear forces. So they're obsessed about this number 137. Well, it's in that diagram of the nesting pentagram. Perhaps another controversial reason why Terence Howard's work is being debated all around the world right now, and it's great that it's so popular, even whether it's fully correct or not, we're having the conversation, and he's saying radical things like there's no such things as the God force particle, the Higgs boson and gluons and dark matter. We've got a wrong concept of the creation of the nuclear quantum level. And he even says that black holes aren't really perfectly described, because the current view of a black hole is that it's like this giant vacuum cleaner in the sky where everything's being sucked into a dense point, but where does it go? So how can something just forever be sucked in? Like if that's a black hole, a torus, like an apple, is a black hole, right? It's going in and in, but science just stops there, that it just becomes this dense, heavy matter. But where does it go? It has to go somewhere. Well, on the other side, you've got radiation. The Terence's view, which fits in with the hyperdimensional geometry of the torus, is that you can't just have in. You've got to have the male, female, straight lines, curved lines philosophy of the universe. So this means that the creator must also be a male, female. You just can't have suction going in all the time. It's a limited view. So what started off science, as you know, was the Big Bang Theory. So this is the Big Bang, that the sun, the supernova, big explosion, and the Earth and the sun are forever radiating out. But that's such a limited view of Big Bang, because all it's saying is, where's the loop? Where's the return to wholeness? Where's the torus? So what I love about Terence's work is that it's bringing us back to this concept of like torus within the torus, the nesting tori create the infinite macro and the micro. And the macro and the micro define what we call electricity and magnetism. And in that kind of conversation he says, well, we got gravity all wrong. So that's why there's this huge discussion going on. Is there gravity? Is there black hole? Is there straight lines? What's happening is that we're starting to question what we've been told. And that's what I love about his work, and we acknowledge it on that level.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what are we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.